must be a multi-pronged approach. And then also, I always ask myself, what are we learning from each other, right? What is a group that is in Tanzania or a group that is in Zimbabwe? What have they done that have been very interesting in terms of really thinking outside the box? It's not your usual conference training. You know, I think we also sometimes do a lot of training programs. Watu wangu, mnaniona hapa. I am going to use Swahili. I'm sorry for the audience.
Okay.
Leo ninasema hatukubali ile kabila nyingine ije hapa.
Hate.
Got it.
Oh, good.
Just needed to do that. What content are you viewing? And then how are you sharing it with other people? And are you ensuring that your sort of practices are not also creating disorder?
Hi guys, welcome to Tech for Peace Africa and Authentic Bemugoma. And today we have a very exciting episode because I have the donor, a funder, a representation, a partner in the whole of Africa, doing amazing things, supporting incredible work from the grantees across Africa and addressing the same issues that we address on this platform, which is information disorder, as well as promoting peace and upholding and ensuring that we foster democratic principles across the region. We are going to be doing the Draw Act rap. How do you feel about that?
Oh man, my rap game is not on point. I know I'll score poorly on that one. So please.
I don't think there's anyone who's gonna reach you.
Oh, they better not. It's not a competition. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So which one are you very confident about?
No, I mean, let me start. We can draw.
Okay.
I think maybe that I can think about my back in the day drawing expertise in high school.
Oh wow. So the artist is gonna introduce herself now.
Yes. And so my name is Mary Kagunyi and I work at the National Endowment for Democracy and I oversee our work in the South and East Africa. But broadly also in the Africa region, at least we have a bit of a bird's eye view in terms of the kinds of programs that Christine is talking about on disinformation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should get right into it. Right? Here, you said we start with draw, yeah?
Yeah, let's do the draw.
So both of us are going to draw.
Okay.
Start.
Ready?
You.
Okay.
Stop.
Okay.
All right. You wanna show me? We show each other.
Okay.
And try a guess.
Okay.
How to vote, where to vote, why you should participate. A phone. Elections. You wanna give me more clues with the phone?
I mean, usually, what do you use a phone for most of the time?
Speaking, sharing information, calling,
to other people,
social media, awareness creation.
Close.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Awareness.
The right path.
Creation.
It's just that we have new lingua for it, but it is creating awareness.
Okay.
What's the other kind of broader, when you think about media awareness?
Advocacy.
And something else?
Activism.
Something else.
Oh my god, I don't know. Trying to educate.
So how many guesses do you get?
I think I've exhausted mine. Do you want to try?
Okay. So do I
while I think about it? No, while I think about it.
While you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so true here and then false. So what, an intersection between the truth and lies? I guess, right? It's the intersection. Is that a person's hand with a whistle blowing?
No.
Whistle blowing?
No, but you were right here. What is usually represented like this?
Okay, let me think about that.
Okay, in the information space,
it's
one word that represents, it's two words that represent three words.
Okay.
It encompasses all of them.
Okay. Fake news.
No, you're getting closer. Instead of fake news.
So we call it hate speech.
No.
Sometimes.
By around that line.
I mean, it's what? Disinformation, malinformation, misinformation.
What are they all called together?
This is what? These are not information trends. It's called
one of the words is information. Then something else follows.
Damn, and I know I'll feel stupid after this because I won't have figured, like, it's there but it's not there. You have that word there but it's not really there. Man, okay, fine. I give
Do you
up.
want to tell me how to give up?
So this one is digital and media literacy.
Oh my God, and
I
this
know.
is information disorder.
Oh, disorder. Yes, man, like disorder, like I could figure, like I
I
could have
know.
figured that out.
Usually, we're
was
never
like-
actively thinking about it. So which one do you want to start with? Information disorder or?
You can do it. I mean, media,
Media
literacy,
literacy.
because I think that's kind of like one of the key pieces of work that we support.
Yeah.
And I think the question is always, where do people get the information from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, of course, in our African context, back in the day, it was radio, it was all that. But then now, most people are getting their information from their phone. And so media literacy becomes very big because you need to educate people to understand what content are you viewing,
Mm-hmm.
and then how are you sharing it with other people, and are you ensuring that your sort of practices are not also creating disorder, right?
Yeah.
You know that you've read something on a WhatsApp group that you were sent, and you know that those are lies, but you still forward them to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to also, sanitize for ourselves as individuals to ask and pause and ask yourself, before I forward this, is it true,
Yeah.
right? And who is receiving it on that end as well, and whether they'll also be able to tell whether that's the truth. And then it forms their narrative, right? And that's
Yeah.
what you want to avoid, is that you want to make sure that the narratives that are out there are supported by truth, by facts.
Mhm.
And so I think that's why when we talk about media literacy, we support quite a number of groups that are helping citizens ensure that they're getting the right information. And a lot of this is especially during an election period, where you find a lot of, whether it's candidates or governments, spewing out negative information, right? So that they get a citizen to vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
So now what we're trying to do is making sure that the information that is out there, the citizen knows that if it's polling, this is where you need to go and to your polling station, this is when you need to go and go verify your name,
Yeah.
right? So those are the kinds of programming that we do, especially around elections.
So when you speak of programs and support, what kind of support do you offer?
I think again, NED is a grant-making organization, and so we are a demand-driven, mission-oriented organization. And so what we ask people is to go onto our website and look at when you can be able to submit a proposal. We receive them. Currently it's 4, but by next year we'll be moving to a 3-year cycle. We don't tell you what to write.
Yeah.
You, as the partner, decides what is pertinent in your locality.
Mm-hmm.
Are you hearing, for example, if it's in the space of information disorder, right? What are some of the narratives that you're hearing that you want to be able to dispel? And so you'd be able to put together a proposal that helps citizenry. For example, if it's a media literacy program, we tend to fund a lot of that, especially during the elections, because that's when we see the spike
Yeah.
of disinformation during elections or during any major political process, right? Whether it's a constitutional reform or any other kind of, or a referendum, for example.
Protests.
So and protests,
Yeah.
right? And so there's a lot of those kinds of points where we are then able to support groups. They write to us, and then we're able, if it's a good idea and that we feel that fits within what we're supporting, we'll be able to issue a grant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for letting us know.
Yeah.
Now, you want to move to the next one?
All right.
I have no comments on that one.
Rap is gonna be the last. Are we allowed to rap in another language so that
You want to rap in Swahili?
I might be, I don't know.
Well, not unless you plan on inventing your own lyrics in your head.
Oh, okay, fine. Let me
What
first see.
What is disinformation in Swahili?
Hey, that one I need a Google.
Oh, your mother tongue.
Google. I do not even think. The worst thing about our mother tongue, it's like a mix of Swahili as well and
Other
English
things-
and
other
everything. So
things.
some words don't necessarily have an actual direct translation. It's going to be, picking a word here and a word there, and you form a
Something
sentence.
new.
Yes,
It's like
something
slang.
new. Yeah, it is something new. Exactly. Yeah.
I like to think of it as creativity.
It sure is. It
We
sure is. I mean,
Africans are very creative.
very creative.
Okay, so we have act.
We're gonna act. Oh, you shouldn't look at this.
Yes,
Okay.
think of charades.
I know.
Oh, heads up.
Man, that's a hard one, man. I should have picked a different one. Okay, but this one. So it's an emotion.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe in fact, you know what? I'm gonna be strategic about this one. In Kenya, a lot of the politicians use
You
that.
have to act it.
Okay, so I'm the politician.
Okay.
Okay. This tribe is not a good tribe, and I'm talking to my citizens. I want you to vote for me. This particular tribe is a bad tribe. They like stealing our money.
And there's no politician who sounds like that in Kenya.
Or
at least Africa.
Well,
that is very polished.
Oh, it's okay. I want to use the local language, I guess.
Even Obama, even Biden had there's always a voice.
I know, but I'm like, okay, all right, okay. Let me take a second take on this one. Watu wangu, mnaniona hapa. I am going to use Swahili. I'm sorry for the audience.
Okay.
Leo ninasema hatukubali ile kabila nyingine ije hapa.
Hate.
Got it.
Oh, good.
Just needed to do that.
That was easy, and you were very good.
I just try. I thought about what they do, so I was like,
it
was very easy to draw upon what I have seen.
And most people don't realize it's the words that are used,
right?
That trigger an emotion. Absolutely. Okay,
Exactly.
But it did help that you told me it's an emotion.
Oh yeah, okay. But I'm sure even if I continued with the line of thought, would have still taken you to that because of, I think, how our politicians, especially in Kenya, engage.
Why is it that they choose that, and why do you decide to put in money into addressing it?
I mean, again, we don't have to look far. Think about Rwanda, for example, right?
Yeah.
When you think about the role of radio and how it really catalyzed, the kind of the genocide that we saw there, right? And I think it's important to understand that human beings, can, and especially where there are countries where there's a lot of ethnic animosity or polarization. So you were really trying to figure out how do you bring tensions down, right? And so where you find communities that are at odds with each other, you will find that that's an easy outlet for them, is just to spew hate speech, because it's about me against the other. So our programs are really supposed to try and help you say, okay, perhaps there have been those traditional or historical injustices that happened between one tribe and the next. But how do you also sometimes rise above it? Of course, not saying that justice shouldn't take place, but also thinking about future generations, right? What do you want you also to start demystifying some of these narratives that we've always had, whether from when you grew up you had about this community and then yet another community. So how do we also start bringing up new generations who are not so tied to those narratives, starting to get them to open up to say, okay, guess what? If community X, if me and my other young brother come together instead and start thinking about the kind of country that we want, whether it's around economic empowerment and not the hate, we will actually progress. Right?
Absolutely.
And so, sometimes I think those are the kinds of programs you're trying to de-escalate, right? Most of the time, in some contexts, it's a de-escalation strategy. In other countries, it's an integration strategy. Right, and how you think about how you bring people together, and in other times it's also an amplification strategy. Like how do you ensure that now these narratives you're bringing now more positive kinds of narratives to try and make sure that people are moving together to the same goal. So that's the kind of thinking in terms of how we think about it in a country context.
When you spoke about the generations that are coming up that are not necessarily attached to these narratives, I believe there's a gap that exists. What gap are you seeing, and what innovative ways are being utilized or used by different actors and stakeholders to address this problem? Because you see, I'm trying to create content. I am creating content.
You are creating content, right?
So what other approaches are there for someone who's watching and they probably are thinking, I'm seeing this problem but I don't know how to support whoever is out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think and this and many other platforms, it's very important to be able to do this. It's really goes, the problem, I think, the challenge that we are also coming up against is that, the content creators, you want to also create more followers, more likes, more clicks, right? And so then what you find is that you then also start spewing out hate, right? Versus yet it was supposed to be a platform where you were trying to bring young people together to come and listen to some of this, and then you decide, oh, you know what? I want to get more followers. What do? I post something provocative or something that is, targeting an individual or something like that, right? And so that's, you know, some of the challenges in terms of these platforms that we provide, that they can also be somewhat of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So it's important that, you know, it's not just the the online spaces that we're looking at, but what about the offline spaces?
Yeah.
Because that's also another area where, you know, I feel like a lot of programming these days, sort of when social media came up, everybody just ran there. You want to do a lot of amplification and programming there, but we also need to look at the offline context. And if I, you know, think about even, and I'll use Kenya still as an example, but even, you know, a lot of the countries where you have rural programming and where there is an, you know, issue of connectivity, radio becomes another place where people spew that negative, you know, rhetoric, and also the vernacular stations, because also you're thinking that there's a way that they say it because they're targeting a particular community, right? And so also, how do we also keep our eye on that and not lose track that there is also this other space? It must be a multi-pronged approach. And then also, I always ask myself, what are we learning from each other, right? What is a group that is in Tanzania or a group that is in Zimbabwe? What have they done that have been very interesting in terms of really thinking outside the box? It's not your usual conference training. You know, I think we also sometimes do a lot of training programs, but the question of the efficacy of those trainings in terms of the use after, like you're trained to be this ambassador, to know how to be a good, you know, practicing good, stuff on the internet, but then you don't do that, right? So there's a lot of programs, and I think, you know, it's just behooves you to have a much more open-minded strategy to support different things.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
And finally, to my favorites.
All right. Okay. Wrap.
You got this.
I got this. I got this.
this.
So I just wrap these words, or or am I supposed to give them my own twist to it?
No, you wrap them, give it your own twist, and then you explain to us, what does it mean in your space?
Okay.
What are you seeing?
But I don't need to wrap that last part of my take.
Oh, no.
Okay.
But we'd enjoy it if you're good.
All right, you gotta give me the beat.
I don't think I'm very musical.
Clearly not. I am like, okay, no beats. Okay. It's going to be a...
The only beat that I know,
silent.
and you probably will guess what song this is.
Jeez, that's like a regular beat. I don't know what's... I'm not sure that we will tell...
But at least you agree it's a beat.
It's a beat, okay, fine.
Okay.
Give me a beat. As long as it's a beat, then I'll just, you know, wing it here. Hey. And then social impact. That's the goal. Youth empowerment. That's the control. Gender perspective. They give. Building resilience. That's how we live.
Oh, you did so well.
Try a beat.
Oh, wow.
Given my other career, I should have just, you know, anyway, I'm not.
You did really, really well.
Wait, try.
It was social. That made it so memorable. Social impact. That's the goal. What is the other?
Youth empowerment. Let's take control. Donors' perspective. Why we give. Building resilience. That's how we live.
Oh,
okay. Well, it was good. It was good. Really good. So yeah, I think, you know, young people, I mean, I want to speak to that, because I feel like those are the main consumers and also the ones who are generating.
Yeah.
And so I think if we can be able to get young people really, you know, embracing better practices, better media hygiene practices online, I think we'll be able to really, you know, change the info space. So really shifting the narrative to start thinking about much more concrete stuff that takes the conversations forward.
Just on that point, how early on should people start doing that? Because you see, most interventions are just literally months away, less than 3 months away from elections, or during heated political seasons. It's more of a crisis.
Yes. It's very reactive.
Yeah, it's very reactive. So how far back should people start supporting those initiatives, or even start initiating them?
I mean, you know, typically they say once an election ends, the next one, you know, you
start
planning, because you got to remember, from one election, what usually you have is a lot of electoral reform recommendations, right? Whether it was observers who came into the country, they'll come up with, and then maybe even during the process there were so many gaps that were identified. So you don't start you know, like a year two, you really want to start early and
Yeah.
you know, just cultivating those practices.
Mhm.
I always say when you're trying to change people's behaviors, you're trying to change people's attitudes, it's the long game.
Yeah.
It's not, people don't change their behaviors just today. You tell me today and then I'm going to change tomorrow. Really, no. And so it must be, if we're, you know, long-term thinking, trying to do interventions, you know, that are sustained.
Yeah.
Right? But of course, that's always challenging because it, you know, funding, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I always say, don't go into on the day of like the election year that you're supporting those programs. They could be maybe rapid response programs, perhaps. But I would suggest that whenever people are able and resources permitting, you always want to do it at least 2 years, a bare minimum, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then building resilience again, you know, I think it's important, you know, to be amiss for me if I didn't mention that, of course, given that sometimes these narratives can be hijacked by others, right? So I want to talk about a little bit about the external influences in some certain countries where we've started seeing external actors, foreign actors.
What countries are these?
I mean, quite a number. I don't know whether I want to mention them, but I think if we even look at the Sahel region where we're seeing a lot of the coups and the embracing of the Russians and the rest, and so you know, there's also an issue of the information space. I think it's also important for us to keep an eye out, you know, when we see the China investment in the media sector. I think, you know, we need to pause a little bit and ask ourselves, you know, what kind of messages are being propagated there. And so there's a lot of, you know, I think we have to keep our eyes on the ball, just to make sure that, you know, our communities are not overtaken. You know, you realize much later how you've been indoctrinated and you didn't know it was happening. Right?
Because it was very smooth.
It was very subtle. You know? You never knew. You know, you were watching CCTV and or Russian TV, and you're like, oh, okay. And then over the years, it starts changing your attitudes and minds about certain things. And again, there's a lot of foreign actors. I'm not, you know, I just mentioned the Russians and the Chinese, but there's a Gulf states as well that, you know, those that are coming to invest into our various African countries. I think it's important that people kind of look at the information space and what they're saying about the people and what they're saying out there as well. Yeah,
that is true. So stay aware. You're a great rapper.
Thank you.
I had fun doing this.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Great. I appreciate it. Thank you for the invite, and tune in to our next episode.
Absolutely. I don't think I need to tell them goodbye. You did it. You should be a content creator. Your second career to be.
Well, inshallah, one day.
Guys, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment down below. What are you doing to address this issue? What issue resonates with you? What are you seeing in your country? And be sure to come back to this platform. Goodbye.
See ya. Thank you.